How great would it be to get up close and personal with the beauty industry heroes we love and admire, and to ask them, how did you learn to do what you do? I'm Chris Baran, a hairstylist and educator for 40 plus years, and I'm inviting all our heroes to chat and share the secrets of their success. Well, welcome to another week's Headcases, and I'm really excited about today's guest because not only is she a friend, but to give her a little bit of her credentials, she was a sergeant in the Israeli IDF where she learned how to build and lead a team. She launched her Maxime brand into a 7-figure salon with, catch this, 6-figure net profit. I'm going to let that sink in for just a minute. And that propelled her into the top 1% of salons in the country. Her private client list spans from fast-growing startup salons to Fortune 100 companies like Coca Cola. And through her Salon Cadence community, she teaches business owners how to scale their business and achieve next-generation freedom. To date, Salon Cadence members have generated, pause for effect, $3.5 million in net profit. Her profit for purpose strategies garnered her features in Salon Today, Aveda Means Business, Authority Magazine, and her book, Profit First for Salons, was Amazon #1 bestseller. So let's get into this week's head case, Ronit Enos. Ronit, it is an absolute pleasure and welcome to Headcases. I was so excited when we finally got your book for this.
I'm so happy to be here, Chris. I know it's been a little while. We're trying to make this happen, and here we are. I'm super stoked.
No, I'm sorry. I jumped on you there.
No, it's fine. I'm super stoked to be here.
Because I think the last time we were together, we were in Clearwater together. I came out to do a little thing with you at your Salon Cadence Academy, and that was just so much fun. And I have to tell you, I've become just a huge fan ever since being a part of your community. That was awesome. Awesome to be there out there with the peeps.
Thank you. There's nothing like having a physical event, Yeah. And it was great to share the audience with you. They appreciate the giving. They appreciate the value that we're there for. It's so amazing how people are so appreciative when they need the help. I love that. And it was great to have you there.
Yeah. And you know what? It was just nice to be there because you had a great selection of audience. The people you had there were great. But more importantly, the speakers that you included were really spot on their information. And I have to say, since then, Jay Williams, your good friend and mine, have become good buddies. So it was a pleasure to be there and be a part of it.
Yes, Jay is great. That rhymes, doesn't it? Jay is great.
So I want to talk about. People always want to know about what was our industry? How did we get involved in the industry? Now, I know that you were a special forces sergeant and also a flight attendant. So I think most people would go, well, with that combination, how the heck did you get into the hairdressing industry? So what's your hair story? How did that all translate?
Well, the hair story actually started much before that. When I was a teenager, I come from a very high academic family. And for some reason, that never spoke to me as much, although I did have a dream. And I always envisioned myself with high stilettos heels, big power suit, black briefcase. And I always thought I'll be an amazing lawyer, right? Because my grandfather was a lawyer. So my family has been in that angle for generations. And so I thought that would be where I'm going to head until my friend decided that she is actually going to go to school to learn how to make shoes. So she went to Prada school, believe it or not. And then fashion touched me, just absolutely touched me. And so that was the beginning. Now, I was really intrigued by, and in the beginning or late 70s, very intrigued by all many kinds of vivid color on hair. And as you know, vivid is rules right now. And so
Uh-huh.
one day I came to my mom as a teenager with a purple streak, and she looks at me and she says, "Wow, that looks amazing." And I'm like, okay, I didn't piss her off. So the next day I come with a pink hair. And she looks at me and she says, "Ronit, that's even better than yesterday." So, I was already in that salon background. And when you go to the salon and you sit at the salon and you see people coming, people going, and it's just such a magical place. And I just knew one of these days I'm going to have a salon just like that. So the deal was you finish high school and then you can do whatever you want to do. And so I did that. And when I finished high school, while I was actually in school, I asked the salon owner, "Can I work here for free?" And I was very, very lucky. Not only that he gave me an opportunity, he even sent me to L'Oreal school in Paris. I learned how to do balayage for a couple of weeks, and I enjoyed myself through, teenage life. So instead of drinking, that's what I was doing. I was drinking the Kool-Aid of balayage. And so that's how I kind of knew that this is kind of be my future. When graduating from school, I went to the IDF and joined the Israeli army. And graduating from that, my mom, gave me the opportunity to be interviewed by El Al Airlines, and I thought that was a gateway to visit the world. And I did.
Mm.
So for 2 years, I was a flight attendant, met my husband, and after 6 months, we got married. It's a long story, so I'm giving you the short version. And then finally, when we got married, I said to myself, "What now, Ronit? What now?" And I
Mm.
was 22 years old when I got married. And I knew that I needed to do something with fashion. And so I registered to school in New Haven, Connecticut for interior design because I thought that's going to be my next. And had my first baby at 24, second baby at 25. And that's when I said to myself, you know what? I still did not go through a complete career in hairdressing. And so that's how I decided to get back into hairdressing and never looked back.
That's awesome. I love. There was a couple of parts in there that I just love. Is that, and I want to ask a quick question on there because I always love
Sure.
when the parents are supportive of what you do. So, thank God your parents were there. I just wanted to, when you came home with that with the blue stripe and then the pink hair, what did your dad say?
Well, my family, my mom was divorced. They got divorced when I was
Uh,
16 years old. So my father didn't say much because he wasn't there. But my mom, instead of taking me down and telling me, "Ronit, this is not good," or "You're not looking," putting me down for what I had, or just being in shock, she pretended that she did like it. And she knew that if she's going to say to me, "Ronit, I love the colors," probably I'm going to continue doing that and feel really good about it. So
yeah,
my
yeah,
mom is my mentor, my biggest mentor. Um, how to build your confidence, So
yeah.
yeah, she's awesome
Well,
till today.
thank God. Thank God for parents like that because we share that in common because I was raised by my mom too and that was God bless all the single parents out there and single mothers out there raising kids out there. And I always think that's
Yes,
really important when you encourage your kids to do what they want. Um, I wanted like it's okay. So I got you. It was all about fashion. You were hooked on hair. So what? How did you? I want to kind of get that bridge of how. how we got from um, fashion, and now you're going to get back into hair. And I want to find out, how did that? Where did you go to get the experience with hair? And then what was your first venture, and how did that work into your entrepreneurship?
Um, Coming from a family that survived the Holocaust and going through, craziness after the Holocaust, my family was
Hmm.
very entrepreneurship. And one side was totally entrepreneurship. Like I said, my grandfather, my grandmother were at law, and my father's side, they came from. They were in fashion. They were selling leather goods, and that was in Belgium. But my father was obviously in the academics side, and so what intrigued me in how I started is, as I said, because I really enjoyed fashion and I was really hooked on hairdressing and what was going on in the salon. But what I was doing is I was watching the community that has been building in a salon. It's a different world. It's like, you
Hmm.
know what? I always thought that the salon is like a coffee shop in Paris. And that's what I envisioned for my own salon. One of these days, I'm going to own a business and it's going to have a vibe. And the vibe is going to have just like as if you're in, I don't know, you're in the left bank, sitting in a coffee shop, whether you're in Tel Aviv on the water or you're sitting in Paris and you're having a cup of coffee and there's people coming and you're talking and it's loud and the music is going and all that noise. And it was just so beautiful. It was like a community. Oh, and by the way, look at the hair that's coming out. And so to me, that was a vision that I had since I was a child. I didn't know at that time that it was going to be a salon, but my mentor, the hair salon owner, has taught me how to do balayage and trusted in me to do it in a young age. So through high school, that was my hobby, Chris.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, so much fun, so much fun.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know that right now. I know when I was just out of school, I mean, all I was interested in was partying. So I take my hat off. My jump into entrepreneurship was much later down the pike when, but I take my hat off to people, that you found it right away. This is what I want to do, and this is where I want to go. So, okay, so you're in school, or you're just out of school. You're balayaging the blazes out of the hair, and
Making a
so
little
how did you
money.
get making a little money, as we say in Ukrainian, some harosh? But
Mhm.
what? So how did you get? I know your salon and Maxime. I wanna get from. How did you get from there to the salon, and where you
Well,
built that brand?
right. Well, fast forward a few years, right? So I think I skipped the part that I had it while you were partying, and I was too. One of my boyfriend at that time was a great surfer, and his dream was to surf in Hawaii. So we went to Hawaii. We lived there for 6 months, and on the way back from Hawaii, I met my husband. I met Bill. And so here is I'm going to
Hopefully
fast forward
not
really.
with the boyfriend. I hope.
Well, I'm still with a boyfriend. Yes, there was a duo for a little bit. I don't recommend to do that for all of you listeners. It's stressful. But yeah, but I did. Yeah, do not do that at home. But I
Yeah.
did meet my future husband. I knew already that I was in love with this guy. But yet I still went back home. We separated, my boyfriend and I. I became a flight attendant. And now this is like a romantic story. I meet Bill every flight that I have to New York. So once a month, I would fly to New York for 5 days. Bill would meet me in New York, and we would have the best time. And
Wow.
6 months later, he proposed. And so I said to my mom, I said, Mom, I'm going to go visit my new boyfriend, and I'll be back soon. And I never did. So 6 months later, we got married. And like I said, it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do. Now, after having my second child, my friend, we were at that time living in Boston, and my friend said,
Mhm.
Ronit, there's an amazing salon in on Newbury Street, which is, a big strip of salons and boutique shops like Fifth Avenue, but Boston like. And you have to
Yep.
meet. He's an Israeli hairdresser, and I think you might enjoy working there. So I went there, and I asked Penny, how about if I worked here for a little bit and learn and get back into hair again? Because it's been a while. And he taught me, and another friend over there that I met, Maria, she taught me everything about color cutting the American way, because there's a big difference. Okay,
Mhm.
every culture has a different perspective on cuts and colors and whatnot. And I just was, how you were like go into a trance, like suddenly you're like, and you'd been
Yep.
transformed. And
Yeah.
suddenly you see things again in pink again. I was in the hair world again. And so I knew that I needed to do something big, grandiose. And I decided to go to school again and take Vidal Sassoon Academy in Santa Monica. So I did that and went back to Penny. And for 2 years now, I was assisting, learning, teaching the old way. And I was, enjoying myself. So that's how I got back into hairdressing, learning everything, Chris, everything I do. I just go all in and I play all out on everything that I do. And so it was something I was so passionate about and so hungry. And I needed to learn how to do it the Americans way. How do I speak the American language? How do I serve in that perspective? And that's what I did. So for 2 years, I literally took it back on with two little children. And then
Wow.
I decided that maybe it's time to leave Newbury Street, come back to the suburbs where we were living, and maybe it's time for you to go on my own and to open my own place. The truth is, Chris, that as an immigrant, being there only 5 years, only 20, I was in my 20s, two little children, starting all over again, learning the language, learning everything. I was really not dedicating myself to social life because that was my life. It was my kids, my
Yeah.
husband, and this new career that I had. And I wanted to really master it. And so I was really lonely. I didn't have my mommy. I didn't have my sister, my brother, my friends, my dog in Israel. And so I was longing for that dream that I had years ago about that cafe place, that restaurant,
Mm.
that voice, the noise, the dancing, the music. And so I decided, you know what? Maybe it's time to open my own little place where I can build a community, where I can
Yeah.
build some friends. And so that's how Maxime was born. Maxime is magnificent in Hebrew, and it's one of the best restaurants in the world, which
Yeah.
inspired me by their decoration in Paris. And so I hired an interior designer to decorate and to design that salon to look like the restaurant in Paris, Maxime. And I opened Maxime Guess when? A
When?
week after September 11. Yeah.
That was pretty wild. That's pretty wild. So how
Yes.
did it? So
That's how
like,
it was.
how did the? I want to when I heard this that you turned that business and that brand into. I mean, it's one thing you can always say, here's what the numbers were and here's what we earned, but that's different than what you take home. But you had
Mm.
six-figure profits that was out of there. So before we get into the numbers part of that, where what was it that gave you the training in order to um, take that business acumen and what your skill as a hairdresser, but then to turn that around into really becoming super profitable? What happened there? How did that? Where did that come from?
It's such a great question because we all come from this background. A lot of us come from this background of really not knowing business. We're very creative
Mm-hmm.
and we love, as you know, but business is super important. It goes hand in hand. It's just as important as being creative. And remember, I
Yes.
had that dream that one day I'm going to have stilettos and a briefcase. I had many dreams, and I always wanted to be powerfully, live a powerful life and be successful. And no matter what I did for the first few years in my business, I hired coaches and trainers and listened
Mm.
to radio and bought every book I can. And every mentor and coach that I had has helped me so much to move forward. And I wanted to go to college, but I never thought I was smart enough or good enough to go
Mm.
to college. And not to mention, English was not my first language. I'm 35% dyslexic to begin with. And growing in my parents' home, who were fighting constantly for 18
Mm.
years of their marriage about money, has taught me A, that money is a very bad thing. I never thought that money was a good thing. And one other thing is that, remember, I said something about my father was not with us at that time. I will tell you that growing up, my father was really, really strict. And that's maybe why I'm strict. But he was very strict. And he was, he survived the Holocaust. And he was very stingy, very frugal. Okay. And for him, education was everything, and you were not supposed to to speak about money. Money wasn't something to be proud of at that time. So every time I would come back from school, he would tell me, "You go to your room now and go study, and until you know your multiplication, don't come down." So for
Wow.
years, I was locked in my room thinking that I'm not so smart because I couldn't get
Mm.
those numbers figured out. So, taking this story into my adult life, money is not a good thing because they were fighting all the time, and I'm not smart. I probably will never make it in college, ever. And so, guess what? God has gave me the love to hair and to people. And maybe it's time for me to just do hair, do what I do best, make money, because we all know how to make money in this industry. But I never looked
Mhm.
at the numbers because I was afraid of it, because I wasn't smart and I wasn't good. And so I just couldn't understand. I was doing everything mentors are telling me to do, but I still did not make the money that I deserve. Missing the time with my children, missing the fun of the things that I need to do, not seeing my husband the way I want to. I was working from 8 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. for a few years and not being able to take the paycheck that you're supposed to take, sometimes not even taking a paycheck, barely making payroll, being scared about this. I was super scared.
Mhm.
And at one point I said, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to learn, because it didn't stop
Yeah.
some presidents that have all these problems to become a president. I'm going to have to learn how to do it. And so
Mhm.
Mike Michalowicz did not have Profit First yet, but he have a different book, the first book that he have, Toilet Paper
The pumpkin, I think it
Entrepreneur.
was called. Yeah, yeah. And then I think it was Pumpkin Patch. Yeah.
And and right there was the fundamentals that spoke to me
Yeah.
so simply. And I said to myself, wow, that makes sense now to me. That makes sense. And at this point, and there were a couple of other things that I've learned. What I did is I kind of looked to see what other successful business owners are doing that are not in our industry. That because really, I did everything I could do, but what are they doing and I'm not doing? And when I learned of what they were doing, I implemented into the business, and the company grew. We went from 4 years in one location to another location, and Maxime became even more magnificent, because I was
Yeah.
finally able to buy my time back, but more than anything, provide a team
Mm.
with. Now it wasn't easy. I screwed up so many times. I will never forget how I was doing payroll because I was a TSA. Do you remember when we had the show in Las Vegas? And I went to Las Vegas to learn because I was a sucker for learning, still am. I remember when I was in bed and I'm thinking, shit, I forgot to do payroll. Again, how could I forget to
Oh,
do
wow.
payroll? Yeah. And so here I am taking my computer, going inside the tub, locking the door, and doing payroll. But you know what? It made me feel good because I knew how to do the numbers. So
Yeah.
it does. You go through this ups and downs, and you learn from your mistakes. That's the only way to go through. I heard today at my yoga session something incredible. He said, "What's in front of you can only become behind you. So you got to go through it."
Mm.
And that really
Yep.
is how life is. So, yeah.
I loved a couple things in there that you, well, those, everything you said was wonderful, but the word that you said that stuck out to me that I love so much is deserve. And I think in our industry, there's sometimes this thing that if people would just say, look, I deserve more, I deserve to get paid more, have a better life, be with my family, and so on. And I think that's where I love where you're going with this, and where I want to kind of jump into this Profit First and how you got involved with it. I know we're big fans of it as well. Is how, if you're aware of your numbers, and I know that we've got young kids that are out there probably be listening to this as well, but I want them to think, the creativity is what you do. That's what gets you by. The numbers that are there is what helps you provide, and whether it's wealthy or getting by, so you can provide for you and your family and have something left at the end of the game when you want to say, I don't want to do this anymore, and you can still look after yourself, because that doesn't happen enough in our industry. I think there's so many people that just say, I want to quit, but now they don't have money. And that's where I want to kind of go next with you, is that if you can give us for those people that are out there right now that are deserving and they want to make more and get more. And like you and I have screwed up hundreds of times, and that's going to happen even when we do what we're going about to talk about. But can you just give us and treat me as if I didn't know anything about Profit First? And if you had to give me a 35,000 foot level view of what profit first really is.
Profit first is very simple. It's a cash flow system. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cash flow system. It's cash flow for dummies like me. Remember at that time, I don't know about you, but every time I was listening to some sort of financial person who was going to advise me about how to invest and multiply my earnings, every time I would interview a financial advisor, I'm like, what are they talking about? They lost me after 2 minutes. So complicated. Can you just make it simple? Think about it. I'm 6 years old. Can you explain to me what is it? And so I never invested because I couldn't understand. So there was no trust there to invest that person. I always say to all my clients, everybody I work with, and I've been working with small businesses for a long time. And I will say, if you do not understand what your accountant telling you, what your bookkeeper telling you, what your financial advisor tell you, leave them. Find somebody who is
Yes.
kind, who can explain to you. And what I've learned is your accountant don't know what they're doing. It's just like hairdressers. There are great hairdressers out there, and there are shitty hairdressers out there, right? And so find the ones that are willing to spend the time with you and explain to you in a simple language of what things are.
Yeah.
So I could never understand it. So therefore, I shied away from it. Profit first is so simple. It's a cash flow. It organizes your money to departments. So you know at
Right.
all times how much money do you have for payroll? How much money do you have for my favorite thing? You ready, Chris? Shoes, because I love
Mm-hmm.
shoes. How much money do
Mm.
you have for travel? Because I love to travel. How much money do you have for health and wellness care? Because I love that too. How much money do you have to reinvest in your company? It's almost like a
Mm-hmm.
picture that it's super clear that you know where your money is going and how much you have money. It's not about what you should
Yeah.
spend your money on. That's your decision. Your decision. So the cash flow is allowing you to control it. You become the controller. You become with profit first. You make decision, not your accountant. As a matter of fact, you can teach your accountant, right? You make the decision where you spend your money. Now you're no longer guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have the money? Will I have it? And other things with a profit, it helps you project of what you will need or how much you will make and what to pay Uncle Sam. And it allows you to incrementally build wealth. Incrementally build wealth. That is what Profit First is. It's simple, it's organizing method. Now, think about it as a funnel, a big funnel. You're making money, you're doing all those things. The money comes into the funnel. But if it has a one long thing that goes like, let's say, a bottle, and the money goes into the bottle, and now you're looking in the bottle, it's so concentrated, you don't know what's in it.
Mm.
But the profit first will go into the neck of the funnel, and now look at the funnel has 5 bottles. And by default of what you're setting up those each bottle to collect, the money funnels into those bottles. So you know at all time what's in there. And then it multiplies because you become your own bank. It's almost like
Mm-hmm.
you become your own 401k. So you take those bottles and now you learn how to multiply them. So I hope that that was picturistic enough to the audience, to
Yeah.
you guys. I hope so.
I, I I love that analogy, there's two things I want to hit on here. Number one is I love what you said about if anybody, I don't care if you're employee working in a salon for somebody else, whether you're a business owner, if your account here's the best way, the analogy that I can think of. And I had the great opportunity working for Redken, that I had access to the scientists, and there was a scientist there by the name of Dr. David Cannell, and he could take,
Yes.
and when it would come to sciences,
Love
explaining
him.
molecules and all of that, it was like if you
Brilliant.
gave me the science side, I was it does not compute, does not compute, does not compute. But he could take the most complex
Yeah.
scientific um, 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 topic and put it
Yeah.
in layman's terms that anybody can understand.
Simple.
And that's what our accountants need to be able to do. And what I loved about why Mike McAllowitz, the person that we love so dearly, that I mean, for us, it turned us from a mom and pop organization into a true business. And I loved his
Amazing.
analogy that was like yours. It was like grandma, like grandma, when she would get the money that would come in, all the income from the house, and she had different coffee cans, and she would say, this would go for rent, and this would go for food, and this is go and so on. And if people know that, and this is one thing that I think is so critical, regardless of where you are in our industry, involved on working for somebody or an entrepreneur, we always have to remember that the money that we take in for taxes, or the money that we've got to pay back to the government for their taxes, as much as we hate it, is not our money. And if we get
No.
caught at the end of the year without having that bottle with that tax money
We,
aside,
mhm.
that's where our stress come from and our problems come from. And if we just understand that you have income and you're going to break it into, like for business owners comp, your profit and your tax, etc., at OPEX with your operating expenses, and then
Yes.
if you have all of that set aside, it's all set aside for you, and I think
Yes.
that's so critical in what we do, and why it's so important. Um, so, to you, could you speak a little bit to this? Like,
I love
yes,
that
we're
you
talking
speak.
about business owners, but to the business owners, but how, like, if I only knew this when I was working at a chair, like when
Yes.
I'm trying to provide for my
Yes.
family, and I've only got X
Yeah.
amount of money coming in, but how can I still
Yeah.
save for myself? How would you put that to that young kid that's listening and wants
Yeah.
to know how this applies to me?
I love that, Chris, because it's critical that you learn that from the beginning before you become an owner. What we did, and I love that you speak profit first language. It's very sexy, Chris. So
Hmm.
one of the things, one of the things that we did is that we took the system that helps owners, business owners. Doesn't matter whether you own a suite or you own a $4 million company. Doesn't matter. The bigger the company it is, the more it's needed in small departments. Okay. And by the way, anybody who doesn't
Hmm.
pay the taxes, watch it because jail is next. So
Yeah.
you don't want to be in that predicament. So what I would say is what we did. We took that second time because the first time, Mike has asked me to write it for the beauty industry. So we wrote Profit First for salons for the whole beauty industry globally. And we wrote it for the entrepreneurs, right? The solopreneurs or the companies, the big companies. But what we did, I adjusted it specifically for our beauty industry after 2 years of beta. So after doing
Yeah.
that, we took that 2 years ago and we created Profit First for Salon for stylists. Because guess what? It starts right
Hmm.
there. And
Yes.
this it is profits first for home. We did 2 years ago, we did a workshop. My one of our clients asked if we can provide that for their own staff. And so we went on a field
Yeah.
trip and we did that. And you know what? It was exactly as I was transforming back when I was 22. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good with money. But when I explained it in the way that I wish somebody explained that to me then, it was super empowering. And right now, we are scheduled to go and do a few of those field trip in salons, helping staff create wealth from the wealth they're actually
Yeah.
making. And so we turned it into a home language. And it's just amazing.
What you said there is so. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I jumped on you.
No, you didn't jump on me. We're conversing.
Okay. Yes, but you know what I love that you said, and it just brings me right back to. I think it was just I believe it was at the end of last year. I was down south doing a program in a salon. Now, catch this: 1,700 square feet, and all super talented people. And the salon, now catch this: 1,700 salons did $3.1 million in that space. Now,
Yeah,
whether that's impressive or not, I don't think that's the main point I want to bring out. But what I loved, and this is, I think, what you're getting at, and what I love that you do, and what I think the responsibilities that we have as owners of businesses is that we help the people that work for us get what they need out of life. And what she does is whether all of the people that work for her after by the time that they worked for her for I think it was a year and a half or 2 years, they all own their own homes, they own their own cars, they have a bank account, they save money, and she helps them to get the things that they need to that they wouldn't normally get because she provides financial knowledge for them as well. And I think that's what I
amazing.
love about what you're doing. And if I heard correctly, that you did profit first for salons, and you're doing profit first for stylists, and you're doing profit first for the home. To me, that's what helps people earn. Because I don't. I can. I'm only going to compare everybody else that's out there with the delusional self that I had when I was 20 years old. And, life was passing me
Mm,
by, and I'm going to live forever. And man, if I got money, I'm going to spend it because, man, it just might not, I don't want it burning a hole in my pocket. So it's gone. And I never saved. And I never saved for Lord knows how many years. And until
yes.
one day I learned that if you're not saving now and you're not putting the stuff away now, that it's going to be hell when it comes time for you to want to just ease out into the world. So thank you for what you do, and I just think that's so important that as owners we help the stylists not only just to how they make money and yes and pay them for what they do because that's what they earned, but how do we make them better? How do we make our industry grow? How do we make those kids that are just starting out that they're hairdressers first of all going to a fancy dress ball with lawyers and doctors around say what do you do for your living and what do you do for a living they say hairdresser and they kind of look down their nose at them and then they tell them look at
Mhm.
I own my own home I own my own car I make X amount of dollars a year and I
Mm,
to me I think that's what's going to help our industry be seen as something that everybody should get involved with. That if you've got a kid out there that say doesn't want to go to college, like or to university,
right.
like you and I,
Right.
me, I can speak only for myself there, but you can still make an incredible living and still have a
Yes.
wonderful life and be able to provide for your family.
And more and more. You have so one of the things that we teach is how to pre-plan for your vacation. This is really important. Um, you know,
Mhm.
when we go on vacation, what happened is we sell hours, right? We sell time. And so if we're not going to be at the chair because
Mhm.
we're going to be 2 weeks on vacation, that's 2 weeks of what we're not making money. So if you're going to be um, an independent contractor, it affects you even more so because you are the only one person at the chair. If you are a salon owner and you have several, like who you spoke of, your friend who you were at her salon and she was making great amount of money and supporting her staff, I just love to meet her and give her a big hug, Chris, because she's really impacting their life forever. So,
Yes.
but when she goes on vacation, she probably that great that she created a fund that when she goes, the company does not lose any sales. For stylists, when they're not working, they're not making money either. So they will think 20 million times before they're going to book themselves something. And in addition to it, right? In
Right.
addition to it, you're going to work your bum off for 7 days straight before. You're going to get to the beach and then you'll be thinking about your salon, or you'll be thinking about, gosh, I hope nothing is going to go wrong. So when I come back, the production is still there. And when you're coming back, now you're going to work another 7 days just to make up for the loss of money.
Yeah.
But with the profit first, you don't have to do that. The profit first for salon, you
Right.
can plan vacation for yourself and for your staff, and you're not losing a penny when you're gone. And so, those are the things that they're simple, that what makes you happy, and that what makes your staff happy.
This episode is sponsored by the Salon Associate Accelerator from trainersplaybook.com. Are you struggling with the time and cost of associate training? Do you feel like your salon is running you? We'll get your associates on the floor, all with 90% less time from you, so you can get back to building your business. Get them world-class design, finishing, color, and client care skills they'll use every day for the rest of their career, while you focus on realizing your vision. Go to trainersplaybook.com and get the Salon Associate Accelerator. And now, back to the show. It's really about knowledge, though, isn't it? It's really is just if people don't know that. And I heard this. I heard this great saying the other day, and it said, and I may butcher it, but bear with me. If you think you know and you don't do, you don't know. And I think that's exactly what happens when it comes to, I'll just, again, I'm going to put myself in those people that are listening and watching right now. Everything for me was based on creativity. It was about having fun. I just wanted to cut some cool damn hair and have fun with my clients and have a nice evening with friends and family, etc. But if you don't know how to take care of yourself and your family financially, and you don't do or take the advice or the things you went out and you sought education, but if you don't do it, if you just listen to it, it was all worth less. You actually wasted your time and energy. But if, like you did, you got mentors, you got business coaches, and then you applied it. And once you apply it and you're doing it, that's when you know, that's when you get as well. And to me, I think you probably people listening and watching hear the emphasis in our voices. And for those of you listening and watching right now, if you're not doing it, start. Please, it's never too late, because you can have a degree of wealth that you can build up. And it comes from the very premise of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I love that you're saying that, Chris. So I'm curious if you could do it over again. I mean, with your track records and your accomplishment and everything that you went through, the good, the bad, the ugly. What would you do differently if you could do it? If you spoke to your, I don't know, your 25-year-old self again, what would you tell that person?
I'm going to preface it with a story.
Okay,
When I
I
was
love
back,
it.
and to me, everything before when I first started off in Canada, and I was in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and we had a whole group, of friendly salons where we had healthy competitions with, but we all knew one another. We all partied together. And there was a young kid, and you may or may not have heard of him. Is Ken Fisher he had a
Mm-hmm.
salon. I had a salon, and everything that I did was all based on creativity and competition and what could we do for photographs and everything as such. And then, but Ken, he did the same thing. He worked for a manufacturer. He did all of that, but he started this massive retail chain when it was kind of poo-pooed on the idea. Almost, if you think of Ulta, he kind of started something
Yes.
like this, but this was back in the 70s. And the idea got
Okay.
poo-pooed, but he did
Mm-hmm.
that, and then he started a group of salons called Chatters. They were all throughout Canada, and I'm going to get the number wrong. I'm just making up a number. So if you're with the Chatters group, well, I love you guys. And I'm going to say that there was hundreds of salons, and there was probably more than that. And and obviously now he and I are both older, and he sold Chatters, and he made himself, I'll just say, more than $10. And but we're still good friends. And he had his 50th anniversary in the business, and they asked me to do a little video for them. And I stole a line from and the name is not coming to me right now, but it was Paula Kent Meehan's best friend. And Lee, if you can remember the name, if you type it in, type it in. But anyway, her best friend was also an actress at the time, and when she spoke at Paula's sort of retirement, Debbie Reynolds, thank you, Debbie Reynolds
Yes.
got on stage and said, while she was introducing Paula, said, "So here's a lady that while I was going on to become famous, Paula Kent Meehan was moving on to become rich and wealthy."
Ah.
And that's what I kind of stole that line, and I said, because Ken went out, he saw the value of providing things for people, and he ended up not with one salon. It wasn't one salon where you charge this magnificent amount of money and you have one place that does this. He went on to places it provided sort of middle of the road, to high end, but massive amounts of retail, and had many, 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 many stores, educated the hell out of them, and
Mm,
went to become rich. And I stole that line
mm,
from him when I introduced him. But now to take it back to what you said, if I had to do it all over again,
mm.
I would have sought out more business than what I had, and been. I'll always be interested in being creative, but I would have been more conscious about bottom line and what can I do for future, and what can I do to escalate and divest all of the money that we made, invested in somewhere else, etc., and make all of those things pay. Another story that I had a good friend that had first choice haircutters down in Florida. He had 21 salons down in Florida. And I asked him about it because he drove Porsches, and he had motorcycles, and he had a Harley Davidson distributorship. And I asked him what it was like, because I'm got this, I'm for those of you listening right now, I'm doing this Me Too circles around my head, and I was, just my ego. It's all about me. And I had one salon doing really well, and he says, look at, I do all of the salons that I do. I'll make about $1,000 a week that comes home to me out of each one, but that's 21. Plus, I own the businesses. Plus I own the buildings that they're in, and they pay me rent. And I think
Mm.
that business sense that we sometimes get maybe further down the pike or too late down the pike. If I had to do
Yeah.
differently, that's what I would have. I would have went out and maybe got more business sense on how to take that little bit of money that I had at the beginning and how to grow that into lots more.
Yeah. Multiply it. Exactly. I love that. That's
Hmm.
incredible. Because we often
What?
think about what would you do
Go ahead.
differently. What would you do differently? And every time somebody asks me, what would you recommend a youngster, somebody who's starting or owning a salon, and I would say, you know what? I would say it doesn't matter whether you start or you're in 10 years into it. As a matter of fact, most of our clients, when they come in and to us, they're like they've been stuck and struggling for 10 years. And so you don't have to
Yeah.
wait for 10 years to struggle. And as a lot of people are, always recommend, make sure that you, two things I always hear is make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that can teach you, that people that can impact
Hmm.
you. Always be a student and learn, and of course afterwards implement. Don't just learn. So I always like that
Yeah.
advice. So I always like want to put it back out there. But there's one thing that I never hear that I think is really important for anyone, no matter what age you are, because you can make things happen whether you're 50, 60, and 70. It's never too late, like you said. I think that the most
Hmm.
important thing is making decisions, because your indecision
Mm.
is going to hold you back. And so we do get those doubts moments, and doubts comes from fear and
Hmm.
limiting belief, is that you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you don't know the numbers, blah blah blah. But the thing is, if you have faith, and I think this is like the book of Matthew, the gospel. If you have faith, you are everything you pray for. You are the one.
Hmm.
And you are what you set yourself to be. So the more you set yourself, I am, and envision yourself in the future of what you're going to be, you want to be, believe it now, even if you don't believe it, right? Fake it
Yeah.
until you get there. Because
Yeah.
if you're not making a decision about something that you want, then you're stalling, you're waiting for things to
Yeah.
happen. So if there's one thing that I could pass forward on that one, Chris, is that you just have to get through it, and just believe that
Yeah.
you can do anything. It's that,
Yeah.
and I
And
and
it
I
is.
wish,
I love what you.
yeah, and you can. It's amazing what you can do. The sky has no limit. I don't know who came up with like the sky is the limit. There is no sky, so there is no limit.
I love what you said about indecision, and you talked about doubt. And I'm sure that I don't know if I'm the only one that does this, but I always, every time at an educational event, I always collect all those notes and I take my writing, etc. And unfortunately, I'm like too many other people, and I have this big stack of notes that I never narrowed down and put back into one area. And I've been compiling that lately. And I found just this other day, and catch this, from 2005 that I've been holding on to this. And it's funny how universe gives you what you want, because I was compiling those notes today, and it was from one of my teachers, Blair Singer, and he was talking about, and he called it the sump pump theory. And he was talking about, if you imagine now in your house, and you've ever had water problems where, the water drains in and you have a sump pump to take it out of your house. And he talked about how, if you imagine your sump pump, so it's like this big vessel that holds the water, that's wastewater that's going in. And if you imagine that wastewater that's coming in, that's all the doubt that's in your brain. And you're spending all this
Mm,
time and this energy putting it into that to try to get rid of things that are doubt, and doubt creates fear, and that's all learned. Nobody has that
yeah,
as a child. It's all learned things, and are generally somebody who wants to rob you of your energy. They want to rob you of your position. They want to rob you of something else that you have that they don't have. And it all is
Yeah.
learned responses. They do that to take away your energy, put doubt in your mind. And if you listen to them, they win. So if you can,
They
that energy that we pour everything into to try to the thing that keeps us from stepping on a stage or doing a client's hair or making money or doing whatever it is because somebody told us we're not good at it, that's their feeling and it's not true. So I loved what you said because you said it's about indecision and you just got to make a damn decision and go by it and you'll
just make
get
a
what you need.
decision.
And I say that. So you are I've often talked about, there's a profit, which is what you talk about, profit, PROFIT. But what's been lovely having you on here is there's the side that you have, which is the profit, PROPHET, which helps people know what the future is. So I want to thank you for that. And we're jumping into now in just to wrap things up here into our rapid fire segment. So I'm just going to throw stuff at you. What's the first thing that comes to your mind in this? Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
What
You
turns you
go.
on in the creative? Are you ready?
I'm
What
ready.
turns you on in the creative process?
Um, I get turned on when people have aha eyes.
Love it. And what stifles your creativity?
Um, when somebody tells me no.
The thing in life that you dislike the most?
What do I dislike the most in life? Waste of time.
And what do you love the most?
Time. Time with my children, time with Chris, time with my friends, time at the beach, time to travel, time.
Most difficult time in your life?
When my mother had to make a choice to get divorced and get her freedom or to split the children. Most difficult, most impactful moment in my life.
Wow. Wow.
Went through it, Chris.
Yeah, I breathe. What do you dislike the most about our industry?
The community, the people, you. That's what I like the most.
So I think what you like the most, awesome. So what you like the most is the community. And I agree 100% about how we need to support one another. And what do you dislike the most about our industry?
That people are not making enough money and they can. They don't know how to multiply their wealth, and they should. They have more freedom of time.
Living person that you admire the most?
My husband.
Proudest moment of your life?
My children. When they were born. My children.
Person that you wish you could meet?
I'm going to meet Oprah.
Oh, wow. I love the fact that you didn't say,
That's who I want.
I love the fact that you didn't say, no, you know what? It's not that I wish I could meet. No, this is the person I'm going to meet. I love that.
I am.
I love this one. Something that people don't know about you.
Man, something that people don't know about me. My biggest fear is to be alone.
Oh. A month off. Somebody gave you just a month off. Where would you go? What would you do?
Well, I love Africa. So I would go back to Africa and I would be with the animals. That's what I would do.
I've been and I love, that's one of my favorite places in the world.
Right? It's the freedom. It's amazing how beautiful it is. I would be there and I would like to take with me everyone in my members in Salon Cadence, everyone that wants to come. I would
Mm.
I would do that. I will create that biggest event, and we're going to go for 1 month, and we're going to work with the children that needs to be worked with. We're going to build an entrepreneurial community
Mm.
over there. That's what I want.
Favorite curse word?
I love the word fuck. It's the best word in the world.
It's all of them. Favorite comfort food?
Pizza with mashed potato on the top of it.
I can honestly say I've had potato pizza, but never pizza with potatoes on top of it. So that's a new one. Let's put carbs on carbs. And I know I'm going to love it because I love mashed potatoes and I love pizza. Uh, if you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
I would be a more of more of a listener, a little more. I've been working on that for a long time and I'm doing pretty good, but I would not change it. I would work on myself even more.
Beautiful. Your most treasured possession?
As a hard thing or a living thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a possession, thing that you own.
Credit cards. No, I'm kidding. Um, I would say I love my
You love what?
I love my Airstream.
Oh,
I love my Airstream.
yeah. That's a whole
There's a
nother.
whole nother podcast.
Yes, yes. Uh, Something in the industry that you haven't done, but you want to.
Well, my biggest fear was to do hairdressing and do a bridal hair and create something so playful with the hair. I'd love to have a photo shoot with Chris and Damien and Vivian, and I want to play with the hair just the way you do it. That's what I want.
Let's sign it up because that's one. If with all those peeps involved, I want to be there too. Okay. First of all, before I ask you the last question, if people want to join, obviously, if they want to get your Profit First book, they can go to Amazon. It's available on there. But if they want to join your Cadence community and become a part of that, or if they want to have you come and speak to them, where would they go? How could they get a hold of you?
We just launched Profit First for Salon on the audio version. And it's such a great read. I read it myself, so it's my accent in it. You have to get used to it. So I would say that, yeah, right. And to get the best place to go is to go to our Instagram page, Salon Cadence, and follow
Uh-huh.
us and like us. And if you comment profit, then we will send you resources that are good for stylists or good for owners, which basically will teach you how to utilize Profit First for Salon at home.
That's awesome.
So if you guys wanted to do that there, and just reach out to me via my email. I'm always approachable, very easy. So it's hello@ronitenos.com. Please feel free to reach me for any question whenever you need something. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is RONITENOS, correct? .com. And so
Yes.
last question.
Yes.
If you had one wish for our industry, what would it be?
It's a good question, Chris. That all the educators, the mentors, the business consultant have their own event, their own association.
Oh, wow. Wow. I love it. Ronit, like we said, you truly are the prophet to profit. And I want to thank you so much for being with us on Headcases and sharing your time and giving your knowledge. It was an absolute pleasure, and thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Are we going to Africa, Chris?
We are going to Africa.
Thank you for
And if I could
having
sing,
me.
I'd do the song right now. It was an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure, Ronit.
So much fun. Thank you so much.